Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel. So I have not posted on here in ages. I do really enjoy filming videos and talking and uploading, but I just struggle to find the time to do it regularly. But anyway, I've got a little bit of time today. I really wanted to do a sort of reading update, and this year I actually had a little sort of personal project, and that is that I want to read the same amount of non-fiction books that I do fiction books. So I'm trying to alternate it, so like I'll read one fiction book and then after that's done I'll read a non-fiction book and so on and so forth. And sometimes I overlap them, sometimes I'll be reading two at the same time, which I know if you're not a reader that kind of blows people's mind, but it is possible. So yeah, I've read quite a lot. I have quite a lot of opinions, some very strong opinions and maybe some unpopular opinions about ones that I've read. So I thought I'd just come on and talk to you about the books that I've read recently. So the most recent book that I finished is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I have read this before many times, but I absolutely love the Harry Potter books, and they are re-releasing the 20th anniversary edition copies, so you can get them in your house colours. I'm a Slytherin, wearing my green shirt as well. It's an absolutely gorgeous copy. Obviously it's a hardback, it's got the Slytherin colours there as well. So Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban was one of my favourite books growing up. Harry Potter was really one of the main reasons I actually got into reading properly in the first place, so I was really excited to pick this one up again. And it did not disappoint. I absolutely loved reading it again. It made me think, and I actually spoke about this a little bit on my Instagram story, about how different the books are to the films. Just in the sense that the characters mainly are quite different. Like, I think Harry is quite different in the films than he is in the books. I think in the films they make him a little bit more attitudes and make him a little bit like smarter, and yeah, that's fine, but when you read the books again you realise he's really not like that. He's just kind of trying to fit in and make friends, and he does pretty much whatever Ron does. This book especially made me realise, because there was certain things in it that Harry does differently in the film than he does in the book, and certain ways things happen differently. It made me realise that they have tweaked the characters a little bit in the films. The Harry Potter films are still amazing, but they will never compare to the books. So I also read this book, How to Be Right in a World Gone Wrong by James OBrien, I want to say. And this is quite a short little non-fiction book. James is a radio presenter. So this book was literally just filled with conversations that he has on his radio show. He's not afraid to talk about very, very controversial subjects. Brexit, LGBT, political correctness, feminism, the age gap, Trump. You know, he really nails all the important topics. The conversations he has are really interesting. Some are really funny. Some people's opinions kind of make you eyebrow raise a little bit. Some make you laugh, and sometimes people come on with a really strong opinion, but after speaking to him realise that maybe they hadn't really thought it through, or sometimes they even completely change their opinion for the better, which is nice. And sometimes they don't, and it's kind of more entertaining when they don't and they're just stubbornly clinging to it. If you want a more light-hearted take on some serious topics, then this book's the one for you. So I also read Daphne du Maurier, Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. I might not be pronouncing that right, but this is the second book I've read by this author and I loved it. The first book I read by her is called Rebecca. It's a pretty popular one, you might have heard of that. It's quite dark, it's quite gothic, I mean you can kind of tell that from the cover, but it just completely sucks you in. Daphne du Maurier is amazing at painting a picture and making you feel like you are in the places that she talks about. So when she talks about Jamaica Inn and the surrounding areas and villages, and you literally just feel like you're there. It's amazing. Like, her descriptive powers are just, they're really second to none. She is fantastic, and yeah, I would definitely recommend reading this book too. For my next non-fiction book, I read Confessions of a Sociopath by M.E. Thomas. So I'm just going to come out and say it, I didn't really like this book. It's a book by a self-confessed sociopath, and she writes about her life experiences, how she thinks and feels. And I'm really interested in psychology. I watch a lot of, you know, murder documentaries about psychopaths and sociopaths and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would absolutely love this, but it just got very, very, very repetitive. So at the start it was really interesting, you know, it was really strange to hear such an honest depiction of her life. You know, she doesn't hold back. She tells you exactly what she thinks and feels, and sometimes that's quite shocking for someone that obviously is not a sociopath. It just felt very self-obsessed, narcissistic, which again, she admits that she is those things, and you know, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. But I think just it could have maybe been half the size and it would have still got the points across, been interesting, and not felt so repetitive. I don't know, if you're really interested in this type of thing and you want a first-hand account of what it's like to be a sociopath, then yeah, read it. But I think there might be better books out there if you're looking to dive into what it means to be a sociopath and the psychology of it. Then there's definitely better books out there, I think. The last non-fiction book that I have to talk about is Appletree Yarn by Louise Doughty. Again, hopefully I'm saying that right. This was brilliant. It's a sort of crime thriller, and it is just a total page turner. Perfect for like a summer read, because you just cannot put it down. There's so many twists and turns and so many flawed characters, which I really like. You know are flawed and you maybe shouldn't like them as much as you do, but you just do, and what they do is just so interesting, and the interaction between the two main characters in this is just very interesting. I don't really want to say too much about it because I don't want to give anything away. It's one of those ones that you should just go into, read it. You know, if you're going on holiday, take this one with you, read it by the pool. If you're not going on holiday, just sit in your house and read it. There was plenty of times where I was literally gasping and being like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. So it's definitely exciting, great one for a quick summer read. And back to the non-fiction, I am currently reading Unnatural Causes, The Life and Many Deaths of Britain's Top Forensic Pathologist by Dr. Richard Shepherd. Yeah, this is a really interesting book. I'm actually reading this as a bit of a character research because in a film that I'm going to be in soon, I'm playing a forensic pathologist. So I thought, that's a perfect excuse to buy myself a new book. Basically, Dr. Richard Shepherd talks about his career as a forensic pathologist, and he dispels a lot of the myths surrounding forensic pathology, because I think if you're like me and you watch CSI or any of those kind of shows growing up, you think that you know what a pathologist does. You know, they waltz into the scene of the crime and they're like, yeah, she died at 10:21 a.m. and it was because of this. It's really not as simple as that. It's not as clean cut, pardon the pun. He also talks about the kind of legal side of it when he maybe has to give evidence in court. So it really is very fascinating, but he also talks about his personal life and how his job affects that. At times it has had detrimental effects to his home and family life and his relationship with his wife. And I think that just adds so much depth to the book and makes it all the more interesting because you know you're reading about a real person. So I'm only over a quarter of the way through, but I already know that I'm going to love this book, and I already know that I'm going to be recommending it to people. I already have recommended it to people and I'm not even halfway through it. So that tells you all you have to know. Also got some books that I want to read in the coming weeks, months. The first one is The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. I've heard a lot about this book. I actually really like books set in the Deep South. I don't know why, I'm fascinated by Southern America. So yeah, anything that's set in the Deep South, whether it's TV show, podcast, book, I'm there for it. I don't really know too much about what the book is about, so I'm just looking forward to picking it up and enjoying it, hopefully. And finally, the last book on my TBR is This Is Going to Hurt, Secret Diaries of a Junior Doctor by Adam Kay. So again, I've heard a lot about this book. I know it's about a doctor who works in the NHS, or worked in the NHS. And I think it's going to be really interesting. I think that a lot of the time in the UK, we take the NHS for granted and a lot of the staff for granted. And I know that they must work extremely, extremely hard. And there must be so much going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this book. So that was my reading updates. If you've read any of these books, please share your thoughts with me. I always like to know what other people think. or if you want to read them after hearing me talk about them, then that's great, and let me know that as well. And if you have any more recommendations for me, then please just let me know in the comments. I'll also put a link to my Instagram page if you prefer to chat on there. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!